Andrew, and welcome to OnPoint Podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's such a joy, and I'm just gonna mention what you say in your Instagram bio, that you're a high-value spiritual mentor. Ooh. Helping you remember who the F you are, and you work on limiting beliefs, helping people step into their authenticity. And you're also a subconscious reprogramming expert. And I think that is so cool. So we're going to dive into all of that. But yesterday, I joined you for a masterclass on intuition.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
That was a fun time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so good. And I know you probably didn't realize it, but you actually chose like a perfect date astrologically to do it.
Oh, really? Tell me more.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Tell me
Yeah,
more.
there was a beautiful conjunction between Neptune in Pisces and Venus. So it was such a romantic, like, day of unconditional love, of compassion and healing.
Amazing. Oh, there you go. It's all in alignment. I had no idea. I just thought,
Yeah.
oh, Wednesday 15th, good time to do a masterclass.
Yeah, that's how it works when you got a good intuition. But can we just yeah, I'm gonna ask you also to like introduce yourself in your big three in astrology.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So my name's Andrew Rowe. I'm Irish, British, and Canadian. Born in Switzerland, grew up in France. It's confusing. I'm always confused as to where I'm from. I actually was walking with my friend and I was like, you know what? I don't have an accent. I don't actually, I have a British accent, but actually, if I hang out a lot with French people, my accent goes a bit French. And so it's funny when you're from all these different places, it's very hard to be grounded in one area, one place. And my big three are: I am a Sagittarius star sign, Sagittarius rising, hello fire, and I am an Aquarius moon.
Oh, I love that. The Sagittarius. Like, I didn't know that you were, yeah, had this very Sagittarius background, because Sagittarius is the traveler, the explorer, and you are traveling around the world. And that Aquarius moon, I'm an Aquarius as well, but
Nice.
also it's yeah, it's so fun. And yeah, tell us more about you traveling around the globe. And I don't know if you want to mention what just happened recently.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I'm I guess I'm a digital nomad. So like I always work on Zoom with all my clients. So all my healings always take place on Zoom, which is interesting because a lot of people are like, well, how can you be a healer and do things on Zoom? And it's like, how can you have a mobile phone and have reception but not be able to see the energy, the waves being hit back and forwards through to a satellite? It's the exact same thing. Energy healing doesn't have to be in person. It's just in our minds that we think we need to be face to face with someone because it just gives us that kind of, I don't know, confidence and whatever. So I only work online, and last year I had a pretty difficult 2022. Let's just say, my dad had terminal cancer, and then he died. And so then I was like, okay, I've done my bit. I've looked after him. I was his carer. And I was like, well, look, you've got this time now. I broke up with my partner of 7 years. Again, that was my intuition that told me to. So all of these like moments of movement forwards, and we talk about the Sagittarius and moving forwards. And yeah, one of the things that Sagittarius have is that they're very optimistic, but they're also very honest. And I think
Hmm.
that's one of the things, is I have to be constantly honest with myself and how I'm feeling. And so I was like, well, look, go travel. And I didn't really know where to go. And then the idea of Bali came. And so I went off to live in Bali for 2 months, and it was wonderful. It was really nice. But there was a bit of, I don't know, it rained a lot because I decided to arrive during rainy season, which was my own fault. But I met some really amazing people. And then I went off to Thailand. And which is really actually quite serendipitous. My father used to be based in Thailand a lot, so he did a lot of work for the World Health Organization in women's health, and so he did a lot of public health in Thailand. So I've been to Thailand more times than I can count, and so when I went there, it was quite nice because it was almost kind of reconnecting with my father in this kind of way through the country. And I had a really amazing time. I went to Chiang Mai, but unfortunately, you know, sometimes life decides to throw you a little curveball. And yeah, on the 5th of January, I was on the motorway and I was crossing the 3 lanes, and I was about to go right to move on to the next side of the motorway. And although my intuition said, you know, keep straight, I just kind of ignored it, thinking, oh, it's whatever, you know. You sometimes it's such a fleeting moment that you don't really think of it, right? And so I did turn right, and I was at a standstill looking, and then bam, I got hit by a pickup truck. It wasn't good, but you know, by the grace of everything that's good in this world, I literally just came off with just a fractured wrist and a badly bruised back. But that really put a massive blockade on my traveling and my journey. And so I had to fly back to London to get emergency surgery. And since then, I've now been living in London and just really trying to surrender as much as possible to everything that life has to offer.
Yeah, oh my God, what a journey. It's so interesting, but also this lesson that you taught in the masterclass, and I guess that you can still get it if you contact Andrew. You can get access to it,
Yeah.
and the quantum healing meditation as well. But the lesson is so interesting and on point, because normally when you develop your intuition and you work with it and you follow it and you trust it, you don't see the consequences of you not following your intuition.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's exactly it. Was I came to the conclusion, you know, my guides, I work a lot with, you know, the angels and my guides and stuff, and they kind of just told me, hey, you know, you being hit by the pickup truck, look, you didn't die, you know, you didn't, you know, become paralyzed, but you did cause yourself significant injury and pain. And they said, look, you know, this is a physical representation of what it feels like for your soul every single time you choose not to listen to your intuition. And so I was like, oh my God, yeah, because we don't know what it's like. But like, actually, whenever we don't listen to our intuition, we're not listening to our soul calling, our this part of us that just wants the highest and best for us. And so it's like basically not listening to our cheerleader or our best friend that's giving us advice all the time, right? And so then what we're doing is we're disconnecting ourselves from that part of it, us, and reconnecting to the ego. So every time you decide to not listen to your intuition, you reduce your connection to your higher self and you deepen your connection to the ego. And so then the issue is with that is you then start to move from a unaligned place, which will cause more suffering, right? Ego causes suffering. And yeah, for me, it was just this light bulb moment of like, flipping heck, you know, like, you have to listen to your intuition, you know, even if it does not make sense, even if it's, you know, like it doesn't make sense to other people, it doesn't matter, because you don't see the whole tapestry of life, but your higher self, your intuition does. And you just got to trust it full force and heartedly. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I need to really re-listen to this podcast, because that was just like, oh, I got chills from that. And you know, as you work, you know, coaching people and helping them heal their subconscious beliefs and so much more, you know, it's when people start to work on relying, like we did in that meditation, you know, trusting their intuition. But then I know from experience, but you know, this is how it goes. You follow it, but then the fear pops up. Maybe your intuition asks you, because it does, because you know you're on an evolutionary journey. And then it pops up and it tells you all the reasons why you should not do that. Your ego is just like all these voices trying to hold you back. What? Like, that is why you need a coach.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I still suffer from that. Like, and I think that's what's so important, to be really transparent with. Just because I've done a lot of work on myself and I'm a healer and I help people heal and move into their authentic self, doesn't mean that I don't still struggle with my own human experience, because it's natural, new level, new devil. That's the expression, right? And so when we are faced with these moments where we have to make these decisions, I like, for example, when I broke up with my boyfriend of 7 years, best friends, soulmate, love him to pieces, still love him. And I knew that it was the right decision. My intuition told me it was the right decision. But, even after I broke up with him, flipping heck, like there were so many doubts that came up, because of the love and because of the connection and because of the comfort. Never forget that word. The comfort is what we always get pulled back to, because what is known and what is comfortable is naturally going to be what we want back in our lives, especially when we're struggling, especially when things are a little bit difficult. And so when my father died, that's when I got the full force of what it was like not to have my partner Daniel anymore in my life. And that's when I was like, oh my God, I made a mistake. Oh my God, I miss him. I love him. I want to be with him. But actually, it's just, I need someone to support me and love me in this really difficult time. And so facing those fears, and knowing that the fears are going to come up, knowing that it's natural. It is totally natural. It's the fight or flight response, right? But you have to try and disidentify yourself from that aspect of you, because that's not who you truly are. That's the monkey mind. That's the part of you that is still stuck in the jungle, that is, ready to kill in order to survive. That's not you, but we all have that ability and capability. David Hawkins talks about this in his book. And this was a huge game changer for me. So anyone's listening, please just listen to what I'm about to say. Like, just because you have negative thoughts, just because, you may want to like punch someone in the face or be angry or whatever, does not make you a bad person. It just makes you like that lower version of a human, which was stuck in the jungle. This animalistic instinct actually is a natural part of your survival mechanism, but it's not something that you are anymore. It comes up because it's ancestral, but remember that it's not you. So you can look at it and be like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, I want to stab that person, but I actually don't want to stab that person, because I know that's not what I would want to do. But if I was, back in the day when I was, survival of the fittest, that was what would save me and keep me living and keeping my community thriving, right? And so for me, that was a really big game changer when I started to realize, okay, well, actually, there's no such thing as being bad. And then when you think about that, it's like, well, there's no such thing as making the wrong decision either, right? There's no bad decision. So it's about making that decision. And even if you don't see the results immediately, that you made that decision from a place of soul. And because you made that decision from a place of soul, it's the right decision. It's going to bring you on the right path. It might not bring you instantaneously. You might not see the results immediately. It might not make sense for the first year, the second year, but it will make sense at some point, And I think that's the game changer, right? That's how you get rid of the fear, is just being like, nah, I know I made a decision from soul. I made it from my intuition. My higher self is there for my highest good. So it's going to work out at some point.
Yes, I love listening to you, like the optimistic Sagittarius fire energy. It's like the perfect life coach, like any Sagittarius. Like, I have some in me too, and I can feel it when it's bubbling up. But I just love it because we all need that optimism and fire to get us like going. So I love that. But yeah, I also wanted to move into talking a little bit about acting and more about limiting beliefs and manifestation. So, can you tell us a little bit about maybe your acting background? And
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have wanted to be an actor since the age of, I'd say maybe I think I was probably 9 when I kind of decided I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be part of the Geneva Amateur Operatic Society, so musicals and stuff. And my mum, bless her socks, you know, she was just like, oh, it's a bit far to drive you. I mean, in hindsight, she really should have, because it would have given me a lot more structure. But she didn't, and that's okay, and that's how it is. But I've always loved the idea of performing and all that, and so I pursued it. And I, you know, went to university, and then I got an agent, and then I went to castings, and then lived the life of an actor whilst, you know, maintaining a full-time job, starting as like supply teaching and then ending up being a teacher for refugees and asylum seekers. And it was fun. It was a cool experience. I got to do some really amazing plays and theater, and I did some commercials and a short film and you know, web series and stuff. And I really, really loved it. But what I noticed was it was causing me more harm than good. It caused me a hell of a lot of anxiety. It caused me to think that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't good looking. I used to be really, really hateful towards my looks, right? Like my nose is too big, my stomach isn't flat enough, like my chin isn't defined enough. You know, I'm finding all these reasons as to why I wasn't booking the jobs, you know, getting to a point of like my voice doesn't sound nice, and really basically just wishing I was a different person, and just not fully accepting who I was. And you know, but I still pursued it because I was just determined that this was the right reason for me, and I loved it so much. And then, you know, the spirituality was alongside, right? So I was doing the manifesting and all that, and the self-worth stuff. And it was only until I started to really deepen my ability to heal and understand limiting beliefs and authenticity was when I actually started to take a more of objective perspective on my acting, and being like, but do I really want to be an actor? Or do I just want to be loved and seen and adored by others? And I love acting, and I really, really do. It's the most enjoyable experience. But I had to be honest and be like, hey, actually, you just want to be seen. You weren't seen when you were a kid. You didn't feel loved when you were a kid. And what happens as an actor is you feel seen, you feel loved when you get that job. You know, you feel, fuck, yes, I'm worthy. You know, I remember when I got one of my big jobs, I was like, oh, my life is going to change. It's all moving forward. And then I didn't get another job after that. And it was just like these highs and lows. And I've seen it time and time again in people that as actors, you know, I've worked with lots of actors and looking at like, you know, my worth is dependent on the next job I get. And the danger of that is if you put your worth outside of yourself, it means that your worth is interchangeable. It means that it's not permanent. And so that's a very dangerous game to be playing, because it means then you lose, you know, a job, or you book a job and then suddenly it gets canceled, and then you just feel like shit for days or even weeks. And that's not what your soul wants. You know, it wants you to be living in joy and love and expansion all the time. So yeah, so that's been my journey as an actor. And
Yeah, I can totally relate to a lot of what you're saying. Like, I think it's just like the world we live in, just no matter what you look like, no matter where you're from, you're always going to be influenced by these like impossible standards. And I remember like really not liking myself and putting my value like outside of myself, and really just, but also like you said, it was for me also like it still is like an inner child joy of expression. And
yeah,
I've like so many times I've been like going back and forth, of course, when you like have a job and then you don't, so you always like, it's always up in the air and you're always reconsidering your life. And I just remember this one time many years ago when I was living where I am now in Oslo, and I was just like auditioning and hustling, and then I was just like, dear universe, guides, whatever, like if I'm really meant to do this, because this shit is shitty. Like I'm sitting here in my bedroom and I'm like doing this stupid monologue by myself, like if it's meant to be, give me a sign. And then within 15 minutes I got a call
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
so like that was interesting. But still, like you said, like no matter if it's like you're meant to do it, because of course, if you're gonna put yourself out there, you gotta have a bit of um how do you say it? Je ne sais quoi. You have to have a little bit of show
Yeah, right.
girl, boy, guy in you, you gotta want to be seen
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
otherwise you would be on your couch all day.
Yeah. It's actually interesting because one actor that I know that is very, very successful is so introvert and hates being seen and hates, but when he gets on stage or when he's in front of a camera, he just lights up and it's this whole different aspect of him. And I really loved what you said about the inner child and this expression. And I think that's something for, actors that are listening to remember, like, if it doesn't bring you joy, don't do it. Like, don't take every single job under the sun out of desperation because you have to. If you get a job, listen to your intuition, feel like if it's the right thing for you, because it has to light you up. Yeah, okay, I know money is important, but what's more important is your joy. And when you make those decisions from an intuitive place and you stand by them and you turn down a job, wow, one, you feel so much better about yourself, and two, you let room for even better things to come in because you're telling the universe, no, 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 I don't want that. Like, that's not for me. I'm ready for something so much bigger and better, right? And so it's about having that courage to be able to say no from time to time, and not be that like slutty, if that's the right word, whore, who's just like, I'll take anything, darling, and be more, yeah, more selective.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Like, because there are so many actors and so few jobs, it's just like
Yes.
reeking of desperation.
Oh, the desperation.
So I wanted to get into that because you've also worked as a casting
Hmm.
in casting.
Yeah. Well, as an
So
agent, but yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
as an agent. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you saw during auditions and
Mm. I think it was really, really interesting working as an agent because you could just feel the desperation of some actors. There was, when they would come into the office and it would just be like overly too much. They may bring chocolates or flowers and stuff, and they would just be a bit like, oh God, this is so desperate. And, be like, oh, are there any jobs? And da 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 da. And it was never coming, and this is what I now know from my higher perspective, it was never coming from a grounded place. It was always coming from if I'm honest, if we were to like, mirror back to our childhoods, it was coming from like this little kid that wanted mommy and daddy to notice them, like that wanted that attention. And so it was very interesting while I was working as an agent, was to be able to see this, whereas then see the other actors who would come in and just be a bit more nonchalant, like they were not seeking something. They're like, just, this is who I am. Like, I get this is a job, this isn't, be all and end all. And they were just their authentic selves, they were just raw, rather than being like, um the only way I can describe it is, there were some actors that came in and they were like literally force feeding us their energy, whereas the actors that I found were really enigmatic and interesting, they were inviting us into their energy. And it's not about pretending. Like, if you're an extrovert person, then that's fine. Like, if you're a bubbly explosive person, you come into the room, that's great, but it has to be authentic. But I promise you, when you start to tap into energy more and you start to work on energy more, you will notice when you're pushing, when you're like, notice me, please, 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 love me, love me, love me, and even if it's like super unconscious and it's minute, it's still there. And energy speaks louder than words. We are energetic beings, and casting directors and agents, they feel that energy. They can feel things, right? Their job is to know that, right? So especially casting directors, their ability to understand energy is is incredible. Like they just know. They know if someone's nervous. They know if someone's bullshitting. They know if someone's forcing things. They know if someone's being real or not, because that's their job, right? And they want to see the real you. And that's why you have to be authentic. And if that means like coming in and just being, you and swearing and being whatever, then fucking great. Like give it to them, but not putting on a mask or a character, which, we talked about this, which drama school has such a beautiful tendency of creating in actors, which is like creating this product, this byproduct from the drama school, and everyone loses sight of who they truly are, because the drama school like breaks you down and rebuilds you up as their brand. So yeah, that's another little topic, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. We could talk about a lot of things. But this, like, it's this neediness and absolutely repels, which is, this is the work that we all need to do. But like actors, or if you're like working freelance, whatever you're doing, especially if you're working for yourself, like you are your own brand, you really are faced with all of your limiting beliefs, all of your shit, basically. So
yeah,
you really, like, I said this when we spoke the last time, that it's really interesting, like how we are like maybe out of work, and we're like putting our money towards like headshots and staying in the loop with workshops and whatnot, and then maybe not really investing that much in working with our energy.
Yes. And you know what, if you start to look at the actors, there's one actress in particular, like I can't remember her name, but so many actors meditate because they know how powerful that is, right? I even saw something on Instagram where Jennifer Aniston was being interviewed by Drew Barrymore, and she was talking about the secrets of manifestation. Like, this is not new. Like, Hollywood actors have been manifesting, they've been creating their reality. Jim Carrey is known to have written a check to himself for $1 million and put it in his wallet, and then got paid $1 million for his movie Dumb and Dumber, right? And so there's all of these incredible moments of showing the power and the potency of, universal source energy, and how it can benefit you rather than hinder you. But, Iselin, to get to that place, you have to do the inner work. You have to trust in the universe first and foremost. You have to decondition yourself from all of the religious programming that we have been shoved down our throats. Even if you've not even grown up religious, you're holding on that through your ancestry or your past lives. You have to really work through like all those limiting beliefs that are preventing you from believing that it's possible. Because that's the truth. If you believe that it's possible, if you believe that it's possible for you to get an Oscar, you will get an Oscar. As long as you take the action steps towards it, as long as you keep yourself listening to your intuition, your higher self, it is possible. But if you don't believe, or if you have any doubts, that manifestation is not going to show up, because you're not going to be an energetic match to it. And that's why it's so integral, like you were saying, to do the inner work. The inner work isn't just you to manifest. You're going to just live a much happier life. And you might realize that acting isn't even for you after you do the inner work. And that's also really beautiful. You can only benefit from doing the inner work. So yes, I agree. People spend so much money on headshots, on acting classes and stuff, but truly and really what they should be doing is spending that money on their inner work, inner child, the healing, the growth, so that they can live with more love and compassion, so that they can move from a place with less nervousness, less self-doubt, and more trust and confidence in themselves.
Yeah, especially because like there's a lot of different acting techniques, and there's a lot that goes into this profession that people don't realize. They think it's just like, oh, you have to memorize things and then just like be really good at pretending. But there's so many techniques, and some techniques can actually be really hurtful to you if you haven't worked through your trauma. It can be re-traumatizing. And I actually did an episode about like intimacy direction in the past, because that's something that has been blowing up since Q movement.
Well, you know what? Actually, talking about the intimacy director, I did a TV show where it was called Cucumber and Banana. It was by the writer Russell T Davis, and it's a very big TV show. And I got the role of the university student that fucks the lead, and it was really raunchy. And we were in this like room, and you know, it started off wearing like just this underwear, and then the director was like, no, we can see the underwear, they need to wear cock socks. And so then we were like put on these cock socks, and then I'm like basically behind the actor's called Fazayo, and I'm like pretending to fuck him vigorously, and you know, he then starts getting a boner, and then we had to like kind of stop filming and stuff. And but what was really interesting was there was zero care about me. All of okay for him, like for the lead actor, totally fine, but for me, like no one gave a shit. There was like no subtlety. It was just kind of like, yeah, put on the cock sock, yeah, oh yeah, are you comfortable, great, okay, yeah, do this, oh yeah, okay, you know. And it was so mechanical, and I actually felt like a prostitute. I actually felt like, what the actual hell just happened, you know? And this is going to be on national TV, you know, everyone's going to see this. And then I just felt like I've been violated, you know. And so yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to share my little
Yeah, no,
side
thank
story
you.
about intimacy.
Yeah, I think that's really important because yeah, I'm following this intimacy. I think she's a director, or yeah, that's what it's called, on TikTok, and she really just like shares like how they do it like technically and right. And yeah, I'm really passionate about this topic too, because like I said, it can be really hurtful because a lot of people have trauma, you know, with their sexuality, and of course like it's very like uh, even from not so recent past, it's like you said, it's connected like historically to prostitution, with this religious background. We're coming out of the spiritual dark ages, and you know, people would be considered a you would be considered a
Mm-hmm.
prostitute if you were an actor. And but
Mm.
really, I want to get back into the root of acting, which is actually very, very spiritual.
Mm.
It is derived from the ancient rituals, which
Of
I think is
storytelling,
beautiful.
right? And that's the thing, it's like that's the truth. It's storytelling, and it's about telling, you know, if you look at Greek mythology and you look at Greek theater, it is very spiritual, and it is all about like retelling of these different stories, so that there can be healing and growth. And I think that's the beauty of acting. And you know, to give like advice to the actors listening, like, you know, if you want to succeed as an actor, stop coming from a place of ego trying to show, come from a place of service. Like, do service to the character, do service to the story, come from a place of, I want to inspire people with this character's story. I want to change people's lives, you know. Like, you know, for me, my best roles were I played this gay Austrian Jew in a play called The Custard Boys, and it was a really powerful play. And it was just about this relationship between this Austrian Jew that gets sent to England to this with all these other English boys, and you know, falls in love with one of the boys, and they start developing a relationship, and then he's murdered at the end. And it was just such a powerful play for me, because one, you know, it was about like, you know, sexual discovery, and about not hiding yourself, who you are. And so, you know, when you find those roles, like, just do them justice. You know, don't do them because you want to impress people. Do them because this character existed at some point. You know, it's based on some truth, right? So do justice to that character. Yeah. Bit of acting tips, you know.
Yeah.
Spiritual acting tips.
Absolutely. It's so fun when you are spiritual. I know we all are, but when you are psychic, and I think it's so interesting, even in my work, like, you know, when you see a lot of things, and it's just like, oh my God, the work just becomes so much more interesting.
Yeah, right. It is so interesting, and actors are the ones that would benefit from this work the most, because like we were talking about before, where, you know, this idea of, as an actor, you have to be able to access all of your emotions. And so if you have trauma and you've not dealt with that trauma, you're not going to be able to access that emotion, that raw emotion, or you will, and you'll get totally lost in it, and you won't know how to come out of it. And we've seen that time and time again with actors, right? Who like, you know, Heath Ledger with the Joker, who ends up like dying, killing himself, and all of that. So it's so important that you master your past, your trauma, so that you can then act safely, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is very, very important. It's like I can see from my own life, and when it's so funny when I'm, you know, working with astrology and I'm looking at my own chart and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I got into acting, because I needed to really, I actually, like, it was also therapeutic for me to express myself, and that it can be, like you said, it can be very healing if you see a beautiful movie and then you see this actor who just like is serving the character, and just like you can live through their emotions, and you can like be validated, and you can like feel, oh yes, I feel that too, you know. It
Yeah.
can be so healing.
And help you through things, right? Through grief. Like if you struggle, you know, with my dad dying, and then unfortunately one of my really close friends dying as well, I found it hard to grieve. Like I found it hard to, you know. And so now when I watch a movie that is sad or whatever, it really helps me tap into that inner well of sadness that I'm still holding on to, so I can just let go of it, you know. You know, one of the movies I recently watched was The Whale, which was just such a phenomenal movie, with Brandon Fraser playing the lead role. And it just for me was the definition of what acting is and what filming is. And it was based on a play, right? And just why actors exist, because, you know, it brought all of the emotions, you know, disgust, but at the same time so much compassion, love, all of these things that we as humans need to be able to navigate. And especially compassion, you know, learning to have compassion for, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but, you know, especially for the lead, for I can't remember his name, what his name is, the character, but, you know, having compassion for this person just because they're overweight. You know, we have a tendency of seeing people are overweight and we immediately judge them. We immediately think like they're lazy, they're this, they're that. And it's like, well, actually, why not just be compassionate? You don't know what's happened in their life. You know, you have no clue what's happened in their life. Stop judging people and start, you know, having compassion for people. That's, yeah. And that movie really accentuates that, is don't judge someone until don't judge people, but like, you know, learn their story. You know, everyone has a story.
Yeah, I think that's so important with acting, and why I think they should you know, be taught acting classes in school, because it teaches compassion, to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes, and not like, oh, it's gonna, like, it's normally about like putting on a performance or a show. It should be about community and like working together. And there's so much that can be yeah, it can be learned and harnessed from this
Yeah,
wonderful tool.
absolutely.
But yeah, I wanted to get into some of the subconscious programming and limiting beliefs, because I feel like you know, people can to a certain degree be aware of their blocks or whatever, and then be like, no, really, I don't need to work on that. You know, your ego might tell you that, or like Carl Jung said, you know, I think 99.9% is what's the quote?
Subconscious.
Unconscious.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's whether people are willing to see the truth, you know. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm afraid of doing the inner work because I'm afraid what's going to come up. And well, that's why it's really essential that you have a professional, whether that's a psychiatrist, whether that's, a healer like me, or a coach, or someone who really is good at what they do, because yeah, shit does come up, and it is challenging to navigate it. But the best advice I'd say is, if you think you don't have any limiting beliefs, that's a limiting belief in itself, because we all do have limiting beliefs. We all do have things that are holding us back. And actually, facing those things are a bit scary, but actually when we are able to face them, that's when we start to have the massive shifts in our life. I had a client who did my Authentic You program, and she said to me, there's no way we can tackle this subject. Like, she was terrified. She's like, it's a mountain. I just cannot overcome this. And I said, okay, that's fine. I said, like, what are your fears? What's your resistance? We worked through that. And I said, look, let's just give it a go and see what happens. And in 3 sessions, completely overcame it. And she just was like, the hell? Like, this has like bothered me throughout my whole life. And now I'm at peace with it. Now I've been able to let go of the negative feelings around it, and I can find neutrality, and which means that you don't have to hold on to that pain anymore. And that's the truth, is sometimes we're looking up and we see this gigantic mountain and it seems so hard to climb, but actually it's just one step at a time. You just take that first step, and then you just are able to climb. And with the help of spirit and the angels and guides and your coach and whoever, that's like kind of the cloud or the elevator that like gets you there a bit quicker, but nothing is un is unable to be challenged. Everything, if you have experienced something, there has been a divine reason for you to have experienced that, and therefore there is a lesson for you to learn from that, and there's something that you're going to grow from it. Nothing is accidental. Every experience you have experienced has been there for your journey. You have chosen on some level to experience it. I know that's hard for some people to hear, but you have, because of the growth that comes from it. So let's go of the victim attitude and let's move into the hero. Become the hero of your own story. So yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, it can be really difficult, but that is like your level of consciousness. And when you work with this, so, we got to speak to people who, when we speak about this, we got to speak on to people who are on the same level, or we have to choose our words wisely.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, yeah, and there are so many layers to healing, and you just got to take one step and then, work with where you're at. But I think it's so interesting, for my own like limiting beliefs, when I use astrology, which has really like a tool, helped me understand myself and show myself compassion. So like any tool that gives you those feelings, and this can be really valuable, because when I look at my own chart, I have a lot of really deeply buried unconscious trauma. So when it's so interesting, because I'm a bit older than you, but we're both from the Pluto and Scorpio generation. So we're here to like really lift the carpet. That's how you say it in Norwegian, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And just like really talk about the matters that, our previous generation have not been talking about. And we are like arriving on the planet just like, why are you not talking about this? Like, look at this trauma. And especially talking about mental health. So it's really interesting that you have this Pluto in the house of unconscious. You are like the literal how do you say it, like you come in and you just like swoop up all the limiting beliefs and all the traumas.
And I just feel so passionate about it. You know what I mean? I think that's the thing, is like, I suffered so much throughout my childhood and my teenage years and my young adult years. And I was like, whoa, I don't want people, it was horrible. I was like, but there's a solution. I don't want people to have to experience what I experienced. And, I never thought I would be able to get out of it. I never thought I would be able to like truly love myself and stop, self-harming and all of that. And when you get to that place of letting go of the depression, the anxiety, the fear, the hate, and you start to move towards love, like There's nothing better than that. Yeah, okay, great. Money's awesome. Money's always going to be a byproduct of that anyway. So when you start to work on yourself, when you start to release the resentment, you really start to move with more love and compassion, automatically you're going to have more abundance because you're going to be vibrating at a higher frequency. But it's so important, like the feeling, you want to just feel good. That's what you should be aiming. Every day I want to feel good, you know? And like as an actor, rather than being like, I want the next big job, it's like, I just want to feel happy. You know, I want to feel happy in what I do, and start to, you know, look like, is it still bringing you happiness? And if it's not, then make an inventory and see whether it is the thing that's right for you, because it's not right for everyone, and that's okay too. It's about not being afraid of changing and of listening to who you are and what you truly need.
Yeah, and I think that's so interesting, being like so optimistic and motivational like you are, like really, that's the level of consciousness like coming from all of this, and just like really using that, to help people not hopefully not experience the same things, or not being stuck at that level.
Mm.
So I'm wanting to get a bit into manifestation, because like you
Mhm.
said, with the vibrational scale, and when you have a lot of shame, and it's so interesting because now there's like so many out there who are doing the lucky girl method and like manifesting this and that. And I think it's so funny because I've, that was me like 15 years ago. And I was trying to manifest, and I manifested so many wonderful opportunities. But still, I had so much shame and so many things that I hadn't yet unraveled.
Mm.
So even though I could attract something, I would not believe that I was worthy of it. So I would sabotage it. And also, it was really hard to increase my vibration because I was trying and trying and trying. And then I was like, oh, why am I feeling so shitty? And, then starting a whole healing journey and all of that. But it's so interesting because a lot of actors are really into manifesting and,
Mhm.
vision boarding. And like you said with Jim Carrey, yes, it can totally work. But
But you have to believe it, you know. And I think, you know, what you were saying about actors that want to manifest, what happens is they're basing their happiness, I'll be happy when, I'll feel worthy when, I'll be successful when, you know. And so the issue is when they're trying to manifest these things that are extrinsic, that are outside of themselves, and they come into their reality. Some don't, because you're just not a vibrational match, but some people actually, it does come into their lives, and as you said, that you self-sabotage it because you like, oh, I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough. Like it's happened so much, you know. Like I manifested an audition for The Crown, and it was for a really good role, and when the audition came through, I was like, oh my god, I'm like, this is amazing, but like, I'm never going to get chosen, you know. Like there's no way I'm going to get chosen. And then I went into the audition, and there was all of these really handsome men, and I started comparing myself, and I was just like, wow. And then I absolutely ballsed up the audition, and it was with a huge casting director, and that was just a prime example of like, I just didn't feel worthy of it. So be careful for what you wish for, because you know it will come. And the issue is it's not going to constantly come. You know, you have to just work on yourself, work on your self-worth, but most importantly, manifest good feelings. Manifest, I want to feel inner peace, I want to feel happiness, I want to feel joy, I want to feel connected. You know, allow yourself to manifest those emotions, because as a byproduct, you're going to manifest other stuff, right? So sometimes actually choosing to manifest more intrinsic things that are coming more from within yourself, can be more beneficial than trying to manifest extrinsic things.
yeah, and there are so many laws in the universe, and the law of manifestation or assumption, like yeah, there's so many layers to everything, and like we're like
Mm.
little universes in ourselves, and we're so complicated. So I had a session with you in the past, and it was amazing. Uh, Not everyone calls me out like you do. So you gotta be careful what you ask for. No, it's funny because I think only like other astrologers have said this to me, because it's so evident in my chart, and that's why I know that you're so on point, because I was like, how can you see that? Probably like maybe a lot of people could, but they maybe hadn't said it to me that directly. But yeah, and
What was it? I can't remember. What did I say?
yeah, no, well, a lot of things. We worked on we did like a guided meditation, visualization, releasing, and
Mm,
I don't know what you call it, but it was very very interesting. But it was also, you talk a lot about the mother and father wound, and you really
yeah.
called out my huge ass abandonment wound, and some other stuff as well, but we're gonna stay with that, because that is so important, like inner child healing, but also like looking at your parents and what what information they gave you, that can be really beneficial in your healing journey as well.
Mm, totally, 100%. And being able to let go and just choosing forgiveness. Like resentment is drinking your own poison. So you resenting your parents, you're just causing yourself suffering. And it can be hard. It can be hard to forgive your parents, but actually starting to look at like, well, how has my way the parents have treated me made me the person I am today? What have I gained? How has it made me grow? Rather than being like, how has it fucked me up? Which we normally always, have a tendency of going to. And that can be a real game changer. So yeah, inner child healing, looking at the relationship with parents, with other, just looking at your triggers and your patterns in your life, and stop taking things at face value. You are not your story. You are not what has happened to you. You've just chosen to believe that you are. You are so much more. You're a limitless being of light, and you have limitless possibilities and opportunities ahead of you. But it's just about unlocking that part of you, to be able to get there.
But I also have a very good close friend who went through your Authentic You program.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Which
was
was
so
amazing.
yeah, and it was so interesting, chatting with her and getting coffee and just like hearing about the latest breakthroughs. So that has been really fun to witness. So do you want to share more about your program?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I have like one offering to work with me one-to-one, which is the Authentic You program, which is essentially helping you tune back into your authentic true self. So looking at where you're living inauthentically in your life, and looking at how that links to belief systems and memories that you created in your life that are kind of allowing that program to still take place. And when I say the authentic self, I mean really the soul self. I mean this version of you that is just so full of love, and that's my motto. It's Andrew Rowe, return to love with Andrew Rowe. I really am here to help people return to that version of themselves that is all love and all compassion and joy, and be able to navigate the feelings and emotions, because it's natural. We're human. We're going to have those feelings still, but it's helping people get to that place, right? So it's a 4-month container. It's one-to-one. It's 3 weeks on, 1 week off for the integration, and then you have access to me via Voxer Monday to Friday. So it's like a really VIP kind of treatment. You have like a coach in your pocket. And so for anything that you need support with, I'm here and I reply. And then you get journal prompts as well to help you go deeper. So it's an intense process. You will not be the same person after it. None of my clients who have done my program, who have worked with me, is the same person. You really do quantum leap into a new version of yourself. But you have to be willing to look at certain parts of you, and not from a perspective of poor me, I'm the victim, but from a place of objectivity and like omniscience, where you're looking at it from all different perspectives so that you can grow from it and learn from it rather than get stuck in the story, right? So that's kind of what I help doing, is I help people get out of their victim energy of poor me, my life's so hard, and into like being their own hero, being authentic, and living their most aligned life through that.
Yeah, I think we could all use a bit of that. A bit of that authentic you juice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm creating a group program, so that's a little bit a more affordable. So it will be like a 9-week program, and that's more in a group container, but it's meeting all loads of like-minded people as well. And you're going to have like the group healings, like that I did in the masterclass, very similar to that. So you're still going to have really big shifts. It just won't be as bespoke as my one-to-one program.
Yeah. But that is also like a really good option, because
Yeah.
a lot of group work is very powerful.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I love groups. I'm an actor, right? And then I'm also a teacher. So I really enjoy group settings. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Well, it was just so lovely to talk more and get to know you a bit better. And yeah, so where can we find you? You have to share all your handles and details.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's been really, really amazing, and great to hear parts of your story as well, and the astrology side of things as well. So yeah, if anyone wants to connect with me, if you can follow me on my Instagram, it's at Andrew Rowe, ROWE 111. And I post a lot of like free content, educational content to help you shift beliefs, and also some funny videos as well, which uses my little acting skills, but they're always linked to like spiritual lessons and growth. And my website is www.andrew-rowe.co.uk. And there you can find information about my programs. And if you want to apply to work with me, you can apply there and see all the testimonials as well.
Yeah, because you have some really great testimonials. So I will link everything below, so you can just head on over and check out all the offerings. So thank you so much again, and yeah, I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Ciao, ciao.